What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the show. It's me, Graham. Dave, where you at, buddy? Oh, that's right. Dave's on vacation, and a well-deserved one, I might add. So, you're stuck with me today. But you know what? It could be much, much worse, guys. All right, I'm not going to waste any more of your time than I have to. We have a really great show for you today. Alex Adelman, CEO of Lolli, the rewards app that earns you Bitcoin when you shop online, joins us to discuss the platform, changes in commerce, and to make an exclusive announcement that we know you're going to love. And we also talk a little bit about video games and the future of VR. It's a really good episode, so make sure you stick around for it. And really quick, before we jump into the news, I just want to say that the show has been doing really great lately because of you guys. Thank you for rating the show and writing a review. I really don't know why it helps, but it does. However, Apple has written their algorithm. I don't know. It just improves the show where it stands in the charts and how people search for Bitcoin-related topics. And ultimately, it helps new people find the show and get interested in Bitcoin, which is what we're all about here. Again, you guys rock. Thank you. And with that aside, let's take a quick look at the news. Paying your taxes is always complicated and often painful, and even more so for those who have cryptocurrency gains or losses to report. But just because it's hard, that doesn't mean the IRS will understand if you don't do it. To that end, the U.S. Internal Revenue Service has been sending those who have conducted cryptocurrency transactions reminders to pay the requisite taxes. These so-called soft notices have been circulating since June to more than 10,000 taxpayers and will reportedly continue to be sent out through August. There are 3 tiers of such notices, with the first serving as a friendly reminder to double-check your returns for any misreporting. After sending the second tier of notice, the IRS may follow up with enforcement. And finally, the third tier of notice alleges actual non-compliance. Speaking of non-compliance, while the U.S. government is attempting to stay on top of how its taxpayers use cryptocurrency, it may be struggling to do the same when it comes to foreign governments. ABC International has reported that the government of Venezuela is experimenting with a program that converts tax revenue into Bitcoin, then trades it for fiat currency through foreign exchanges. This is all in a bid to circumvent economic sanctions imposed by the U.S. As of now, the program is reportedly being tested at a major airport in the country, but there are plans to expand the experiment to more airports as well as the state-run oil company. And speaking of experiments, Blockstream has added the stablecoin Tether as an asset on Liquid, its Bitcoin sidechain. Blockstream has been experimenting with Liquid for some time now, designing it to be a secondary network that enables quick and cheap high-value transfers of Bitcoin from one exchange to another. Liquid assets hold one-to-one parity with on-chain assets like BTC. To peg their on-chain BTC to Liquid assets, users can facilitate a swap through a Liquid network member, who hosts the nodes that keep the network running and mint new assets. Blockstream previously launched L-BTC, or Liquid Bitcoin, as the first asset on the network, and the addition of Tether marks the second. That's it for the news. Let's jump into our interview with Alex Adelman from Lolli. Alex, thanks for hopping on a call with me today.
Thanks for having me.
So before we get started, you have a pretty interesting background. I've done a little sleuthing on you via other podcasts and Medium articles. Can you just sort of give our listeners a little bit of your background?
Of course. So I started, I guess, really in the Bitcoin space about 5-6 years ago when I was building my last company, which was called Cosmic. And what Cosmic was trying to build is the democratization of commerce, or build towards is the democratization of commerce.
Right.
We built this e-commerce gateway that let people sell their products anywhere, buy anywhere. It was a really cool technology that ended up getting acquired by a company called Pop Sugar to come in and power 1.2 billion in retail revenue at a subsidiary called ShopStyle. We got to meet a ton of top fashion merchants there, and we were there for about a year. Until we were acquired again by a bigger company called Ebates. And a lot of people know Ebates as the biggest cashback company in the US, and really incredible company that has done an amazing job of giving people cashback rewards. So we were there for about a year before parting ways, and got to learn the model. And one of the things I was like most excited about from being there is I kept seeing this like opportunity to use the cashback model to give away Bitcoin. And when I proposed it to them, they weren't interested in doing it. They had a lot on their plate, a lot of other initiatives. And so after we parted ways, our team that had built Cosmic got back together and said, how cool would it be is to like use the Ebates model, use the rewards model to give people Bitcoin back when they shop online. And it came out of this point of frustration where in order to get into Bitcoin, you either had to be a miner, which no one was ever going to do, very few people were going to do, especially if you were new to the space, or you had to be an investor. And a very small percentage of the population is and will ever be an investor. So we kind of came into the space where we're like, what is the best way to take Bitcoin to everybody? And we looked at all these different rewards models, and we decided, let's do the one that we know best and is one of the biggest companies in the space, and do it for Bitcoin and educate people on the power of Bitcoin and why it's so important, and give people Bitcoin when they're doing something that they were already going to do, which is travel, groceries, shopping online, getting your essentials. So that's kind of the story of how we got started. And
I love the model. I can't help but think that, I mean, this is a great thing for hodlers, right? They're like, oh, cool, I can earn Bitcoin. Where's the line drawn with, because some people might think that it's crazy that you're giving away Bitcoin. So
our biggest critique is it sounds too good to be true, which I don't think is a bad thing. I think Ebates has been trying to show that they're like a legit company for the last 20 years. But as soon as somebody earns, they realize that it's real, it works, there's no funny business. It's a very simple model if you actually like dig into it. We partner with the merchants. They give us US dollars when we send our users to their site. So when the user shops the site, we get credit for driving that sale. And instead of us just taking all of the commission, we share that with the consumer, our users, giving them Bitcoin and sending it to their Bitcoin Lolli wallets.
Right. So when the sale is made, so you take part of the commission, do you use that commission to buy Bitcoin, or do you already have like a reserve of Bitcoin that you use to dole out those incentives?
Yeah, so we're buying Bitcoin on top OTCs. So we're actually getting like really incredible prices for the users. These are like better prices that they'd be getting on exchanges in almost every case. So I think that's one thing that a lot of people don't realize. Like we're passing those savings and those that price back to the consumer for them to earn the maximum amount back for all their purchases.
Gotcha. Okay. And you mentioned earlier you wanted to democratize commerce. I'd really love to hear your thoughts on the current issues with just, our regular commerce base that we're using right now, and why you felt a need to sort of shift it.
Yeah. So I kind of, I've been building technology since I was around 16. So last 14 years, and like building technology professionally. And I've always had these I have way more than 10 experiences where I've just been crushed by the current fiat rails, where it was like I couldn't get approved for for a banking partnership. I couldn't get approved by PayPal because of my age, because of what I was building or who I was building for, and so I've just had all of these experiences of not being able to do something as simple as communicate through payments. And anytime that you want to pay anybody, there's just this massive hassle of paying anybody. And when you start to pay people cross-border, which I've done a lot over the last 14 years and working engineers all over the world, and never really being there's talent everywhere, opportunity is not. And so I always look for the best person to build each individual job. And so over the years, as hiring all over the world, I always had this issue where I couldn't pay somebody securely, easily, and it was just always this point of frustration. And when I first learned about Bitcoin, I was just fascinated with its ability to democratize commerce native to a currency. And everything I had been building, my life mission was like, how can we build for a better world through connecting the entire world through commerce? And when I heard about Bitcoin, I was like, it's the first asset that does that. It's the first asset that gives everyone the power to be their own bank, to be their to transact with anyone, any company in the world. And that really, really drew me in and just fascinated me as like it's almost like the perfect world currency to empower everyone. It's a really beautiful thing. And it's still like, I wake up every day and I think about it. It's like, we probably all do.
Yeah. Once you drink the Kool-Aid, you can never go back. I totally get it.
It's like, why I couldn't build anything else. Like,
Yeah.
this is what I want to build. So.
Yeah. I mean, I do the same thing. I'll wake up, my dogs sleep in my bed, so I'm woken up constantly throughout the night. And sometimes I find myself just checking the price because I woke up randomly at 3:30 in the morning. And that's a huge contrast from, even a year ago. But yeah.
And that's so interesting because that is such a common thing. Like, we've been in the space for a while now and we still like are fascinated by the price. It's like a very interesting thing because we're like, our brains are like, okay, we know US dollars, we understand what that's worth. We don't even think about what is $1 worth every day, right? It just is. And now we're being introduced to this new money that has this new value that changes. And so price is just like this fascinating thing. And in our design, in our UX, we've been using that as a mechanism for getting people to like come back and stack more sats. And like, if you think about Ebates or any of these other cashback companies, they don't have that as a feature. Like, they're not checking the price every day of like what, how much cash back you have. Like they get their cash back every quarter, every like 90 days. And, right. And you just like get this big fat check and you're really excited and it's this nice reward. But when you couple the feel good experience of like stacking sats and earning Bitcoin back, and you're like, looking and changing your behavior to shop at all these merchants that are Bitcoin friendly companies. And then you compound the fact that these Bitcoin friendly companies are starting to see that they can actually make more money when they are Bitcoin friendly. Before, it was just a hassle to deal with Bitcoin payments and all of that, all like everything that was involved in that. But with Lolli and earning, it actually provides them an immediate incentive to bring in a whole new group of customers that keep sharing it and keep sharing Bitcoin with more and more people. And it's just this like never-ending compounding effect that starts with earning and then will eventually go into spending and using with everyday lives. And at some point, I'm sure we'll stop, checking the price every day because it will just be the standard.
Right. It'll just be the way it is. Sure.
Right.
I want to dig in on that a little more as far as your merchants go, and how they're incentivized, because I'm sure in this whole process where you're trying to build Lolli and bring new people on, and I mean, by people, I mean merchants, was there any pushback there? Like, were they excited about Bitcoin, or were they mostly just like interested in the traffic?
I won't speak. I mean, we have over 950 merchants on the platform to this day, so right, it's grown like crazy. There's a ton, and I in the early days, if I'm being 100% honest, I didn't sell the Bitcoin part super hard because it wasn't. I knew that if that was the focus, the perception. Because all these merchants had either like 99% of them chose not to offer Bitcoin as a payment mechanism. And so if I focused on Bitcoin only, like Bitcoin like as a payment mechanism, I felt like I would get a negative reaction. I was like, I know that this model works because I know how many people want Bitcoin and I know how big this market is. And I know that over time, the thing that will get them to pay attention to Bitcoin will be the sales. And so my biggest, the thing that like I needed to convey to them is that there is a really big market of people who want Bitcoin more than cash, and that we can drive these sales to these sites. And for a company like Walmart, who's one of our best merchants and best partners, they can drive sales away from Amazon. We're attracting this millennial, tech savvy, male and female consumer away from Amazon into Bitcoin friendly companies. So Walmart looked at that as an opportunity. They at first they didn't really quite care about Bitcoin, now what's really cool is they actually care about Bitcoin because we've forced them to pay attention to it. And how do you get, a multi-hundred billion dollar company to pay attention to Bitcoin when they're not accepting it as a payment mechanism? You have to give them this incentive. So a lot of people talk about Lolli on the consumer side, and we're bringing all these new people into Bitcoin, and that's really exciting. And that is totally like one of our top, if not top initiative. But a thing that a lot of people don't talk about is the merchant adoption and how many, I get at least once a week, someone asking, like on the merchant side, asking me about Bitcoin, and I send them, digital gold, I send them the Bitcoin standard, and I'm like I engage them because they start to see our sales go up, and they start to see all these new users and this incremental revenue, and they're like, okay, I need to understand this because my job depends on me understanding this for the future. That's how I think you create real change.
Right. That's crazy that Walmart is eyeballing Bitcoin a little more. And why wouldn't they? I mean, if there's some
Why
sort
wouldn't
of
they? Exactly.
I mean, why not?
So now they're starting to think about like, okay, so here's the coolest part in like the big picture. So if we zoom out a little bit, we see that Walmart pays $5 billion in credit card fees every year. So they have to be thinking about, that's one of their biggest fixed costs that to this day, they never thought that there was a way around. And now we're starting to say, well, what if you could decrease that, by using a digital currency as a medium of exchange? That gets them really excited because they look at even more savings and cost advantages over the next 5 to 10 years. When all these other merchants see that Walmart's doing it, that Overstock's doing it, that
Sure.
Priceline and all of our other partners are using Lolli, then more and more come on board. We started with 500 merchants to launch. I thought it was a good number to like really get the community excited that we worked really hard to get. And then since then, we've had another 450 merchants join us. So there's just been a lot of excitement, I think, around just this idea of giving people Bitcoin back as a reward.
Wow. That's crazy. I mean, outside of just getting new people, and that's sort of what I want to lead into next is your new users and people just getting into Bitcoin. But having big merchants sort of turning their ear on this now is huge. How far away? I mean, 900 partners on Lolli is an astronomical number. That's, I mean, for where we are right now in the Bitcoin timeline, which is just a blip on the radar. That's crazy. So congratulations to you. That is awesome.
Thank you. It's been a lot of hard work, but I mean, I honestly, I don't take all the credit. It's like, if you follow us on Twitter, our community, they get so excited about these new partners. And, we do this little game where it's like, who do you want to see next? Like, where do you want, like, who do you want us to talk with?
Yeah.
And we've been doing that for 9 months. And, every time we're like logging all of these demands for all these different merchants. And every time I pitch these new merchants that our consumers, our users have like requested, I send that to our merchants, and our merchants sees that, like, this excitement, and they're like, wait a second, like, people are going to be talking about us organically, and people are going to be like shopping at our site that normally wouldn't. And so, I mean, our users are unbelievable and really like have just been incredible for us to use that voice and the Bitcoin community to bring on new merchants. And I think to this day, I mean, and, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we have more merchant adoption than any other Bitcoin company, Fortune 10,000, Fortune 5,000 merchants that are actually we're actually partnered with and we're working with to, that are Bitcoin friendly companies.
And when you say Bitcoin friendly, are these companies able to accept Bitcoin natively, like on their websites, or is it mostly just partnering like through Lolli?
Just through Lolli right now, but I think that payments will come in time and we can't force it. We clearly, I think we have a really good shot of, like, when we're generating significant revenue for these merchants,
Mm-hmm.
I think we have a really good shot to bring them payments. I do think that, Bitcoin has to, especially on like second layer solutions, Bitcoin has to advance a little bit. I love what Lightning Labs is doing
Right.
on, as a second layer solution. I think that's like looking like a really good tool for merchants to start accepting Bitcoin, and reducing the fees in which they accept it. And I think things like Bakkt are going to do an incredible job of letting people accept it and then exchange it for accounting purposes to whatever their preferred currency is at that time. Right now, I think that we have to also think about like the consumer. Most consumers, even the hardcore Bitcoiners, a lot of people don't want to spend Bitcoin because it's so volatile, because we're looking at the price.
Right.
So I don't think that the world is ready right now to use Bitcoin as a medium of exchange. I think we have several more years to go of using Bitcoin as a store of value. And that's why earning is so exciting, because people can just treat it as a store of value. We don't get hit with crazy fees, because we're doing like batch purchasing of Bitcoin. Mm-hmm. So our business model isn't reliant on scaling Bitcoin. Bitcoin just can be Bitcoin, and we don't need to use any other we don't have to use any other altcoins. We don't have to use anything. We don't have to like force the, Bitcoin to fork or anything. We can just use Bitcoin, and it's been great. Like, Bitcoin has gone up from 3,600, when we first launched, to around 10,000 today. So our users have effectively seen about a 2.5 to 3x increase in the value of this store of value. And every time that they see this, this thing that they're earning go up, they get more and more interested in the possibilities of what Lolli is and what Bitcoin is, and why they should be paying attention to it.
So, obviously Bitcoiners love this. They love earning Bitcoin. That's easy selling point right there. What have the numbers been like with new Bitcoin adopters, if you have any to share?
Yeah, so it's like we get, in support channels, we get asked all the time about like, what are the best resources, where should we go to learn about it? And one of the most exciting things about today, we are announcing a new partner that we're really excited about. We've been working really hard to bring on the right partner. We've talked with a lot of different partners about it. And we're really excited to announce that we just partnered with Udemy. And Udemy is one of the biggest resources for quality education. And a lot of people don't know this, but they have some incredible educators on the platform. And we're about to do a blog post today that highlights all of these incredible educators that are teaching about Bitcoin on every level of every skill level. So if you're an expert, you've got expert resources on getting deeper into learning about the power of Bitcoin. If you're an absolute novice and just want to learn about Bitcoin 101 and want to just get started, you can take very low cost classes. And the same way that we believe in the democratization of commerce, that stems from the democratization of information that the internet brought us. So I think Udemy is one of the greatest companies on the internet, and I'm so excited to partner with them. And I hope that, we've already been sending a lot of traffic their way just for the resources that they have. And now I'm really excited because when someone goes and gets like a $5 course, they can earn, like $1 back in Bitcoin when they go buy these courses. So it's sort of this compounding effect of teaching people about Bitcoin and then having them earn and be incentivized to learn more as they're learning.
Wow. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah. And we're excited for them too. I think they're excited. We're excited. So it's going to be a great partnership.
That's great. And they don't just do Bitcoin stuff, right? They do other courses, correct?
They do everything. So yeah, there's a class for everything. So you could learn how to cook ribs, and you could also learn how to go stack some more sats. Learn about forks. You learn about Bitcoin Core, the history. There's so many courses on there that are just like absolutely incredible. Our team has taken a bunch. We send a lot of our new hires that are experienced in their particular particular line of work, but are not maybe experienced in Bitcoin. We send them classes. So we're about to share a lot of the classes that we're really excited about in this blog post.
That's really cool. I did a little research on them, and it seems sort of like a lynda.com. Are you familiar with lynda.com?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So that's super cool. Personally, since I got into this space, I've obviously we check the price and, there's that, but like, I've always been on the side of like, we need to get more people like adopting this. We need to spread awareness. And I think what you're doing is really, really cool. And I mean, just like I was telling my fiance like last week, I was like, hey, don't use Amazon to buy your next thing. You should like sign up for Lolli and see if it's on Lolli's site and then do it that way. And you can start earning Bitcoin. And she was like,
Mm-hmm.
I've been trying to sell it on her for like a year now. And just in like the past month or so, she's finally like started to get into it. And the Lolli thing was one of the big things that she was like, oh, well, this is kind of cool because I can get what I was already going to get. And then now I have a Bitcoin wallet.
Exactly.
I mean,
and that we've heard that so many times, and it's just so exciting to see the like new people coming into the ecosystem that would have never have gotten into it. And you like, correct me if I'm wrong, but she probably would not have gone onto Coinbase or the exchange and like took her hard-earned money and bought a meaningful amount of Bitcoin because you would have been, basically giving her financial advice. And so this is like a really easy way for just to share Bitcoin with everybody, to make it really easy, to make it passive, and to do like dollar cost average investing without realizing you're investing.
right. And it's not intimidating because signing up for an exchange and going through the whole ID process and, KYC, everything, it can be really intimidating for someone who knows nothing about it.
Exactly.
Kudos to you. I think it's super cool. I did have a question from a Bitcoiner's view. Like, can you kind of explain how the Lolli wallet works, like within the extension on the browser?
Yeah. So for some of our merchants like Udemy, you go to lolli.com and we have our complete list of merchants. Some merchants, don't want to be featured on the browser extension. And so there's two main shopping experiences. You go to lolli.com, the best shopping experience is actually downloading the extension. And for 99.5% of our merchants, you'll see like the Lolli notification pop up, and it'll say, hey, do you want to stack sats, earn 7% back on this purchase? And you're like, yeah, I would love to. You activate it. And what we are doing in the background is we're communicating with Udemy, with Walmart, with Priceline, and we're saying, hey, this user 12345 is about to purchase. You make the purchase, and then we the merchant pays us, and then we send the Bitcoin to your Lolli wallet. The other experience where to earn the maximum amount of sats back is actually going to lolli.com and searching for merchants like Udemy or hotels.com or booking.com. And when you click through and press shop, that's when you can go to the merchant site and it's activated there. So it takes 30 seconds to download the extension. It's super easy.
Mm-hmm.
It's safe. We don't collect your information. The only thing that we care about is when you're on a merchant site that we are partnered with, and that's the only thing that we want to know. It's only the only thing that we care about. We have to be able to communicate with the merchant, and that's it.
Awesome. And how does the withdrawal process work? Is like if somebody wanted to cash out their Bitcoin from their Lolli wallet, like is there an option to cash out directly with you guys, or do you need to send it to like another exchange?
So yeah, after you hit $15 minimum, you can transfer the Bitcoin to any Bitcoin address, and it's really up to you. It's like your Bitcoin is your Bitcoin. The $15 threshold is really just to prevent fraud on our end. We are still a company that has to look out for for ourselves, and so we do have a $15 minimum. But most people hit that within 2 purchases, as you've probably seen.
Yeah, I've heard that the biggest seller is travel. Is that correct?
It is correct. Yeah, travel's been a really great category for us. I think one thing that's nice is like you can earn quite a bit back because travel's a big purchase, and people are using it for work. People travel for holidays. It's just a very active experience. And then grocery is big now. We just landed Safeway, and that's been an incredible partner. I think we announced them last week, and
yeah, that's awesome.
We're going to be launching a lot more in that space. So food delivery has been great with Caviar. We just landed a new merchant there that we're excited to announce in a couple weeks. And yeah, there's a lot of momentum going in the like essential space. Like Overstock's really good. Walmart's great. Yeah, a lot of great partners.
Very cool, man. That's all I really have on Lolli. So I just kind of wanted to jump back to, you said you used to build a lot of technology, and I think you used to build games, right?
I did, yeah. So I guess you've listened to a few podcasts and done your research.
I do a little bit of research.
Respect that. Yeah, do your research. It's part of what we have to do around here.
Right.
So yeah, I used to build video games. I mean, very simple ones like 2D ones like sprites. If you remember, like those sort of how you built like characters. I think I got a computer when I was like I didn't. My family got a computer when I was like 12, and I went from like making art and building things with like with wood, with Connects, Legos, and making art, to having a computer and realizing like all these cool things I could do in the physical space, I could do in a digital space, and games were just this incredible like outlet for me to take that creativity and put it into technology. And it really, I think having that being my first interaction with building in a digital space shaped the way that I look at technology as a whole. Like I look at Bitcoin as art. It just is unbelievably beautiful, and it just like everything about it just is like it's incredible. Like when I first experienced the internet, even albeit dial-up, it was amazing. I could connect with anyone in the world, and it just opened up the world. I was like, we're not broken down and by borders anymore. We're not disconnected. Like every person can communicate. Almost every person that has internet can communicate just with like a text message, or like I'm talking to you right now.
It's nuts. It's totally nuts. Speaking of dial-up, I just had this conversation recently with a buddy where it was like, that was such a big moment with like Messenger, and just his thing was going through the Marvel like character bios, and like it would just barely load, per character, and you could go through A to Z and just click next. But
yeah,
I don't know about you, but it seems like everybody kind of in our age range, their parents would set like a cap on the time they could get on dial-up, because it was like, what if somebody calls? Yeah. It was always like, what if somebody calls?
Yeah, exactly. You never know.
Yeah,
that was a crazy time.
Yeah, man. I remember playing Quake multiplayer, and
oh my god,
just like,
yeah,
holy crap, this is so awesome. I'm never leaving.
Yeah, and Doom.
Oh, dude, Doom was the best.
Yeah, it was insane. Like when that came out, it just like blew my mind, and that like I wanted to create all these like RPGs and like I just wanted to create like worlds, and it was just so fun. Like I mean, clearly it's amazing what exists today, with how far video games have come, but I do sort of miss the ability for anyone to go make games, and for it to not feel like the disparity between the games I was making and the games I was playing didn't seem so drastic. And right. I remember like my first thing that I learned, which was kind of like early, if you know Scratch, that computer language for kids. It was this program called Game Maker, mm-hmm. and I remember like teaching myself how to code with Game Maker, but not realizing I was coding. And like I didn't have any formal lessons. It was just like, here, this is what you need to do to make a game, and this is how you teach this computer to like go do the things like make this character turn left, go 4 spaces, do shoot this thing. Like it was just so fun and intuitive and easy, and you could make these games that your friends could play, and you could tell these stories through technology that just was such a cool medium. And I'm really excited. Like I love what Minecraft has done for like open source gaming, and giving everyone the ability to create these worlds and to teach people about servers. And it's the next best thing. But I'm really excited for whatever comes next, of people being able to just design their own games and create their own worlds. I think that's something that we haven't quite figured out yet. And I haven't really seen a pervasive technology that exist that lets people just like make their own worlds.
Yeah, there's a little bit going on with like augmented reality. Sort of like
Mm-hmm.
Pokemon Go. You mentioned Minecraft. I don't know if you saw Apple's presentation with their augmented reality platform, but that was pretty cool.
Oh, I didn't.
Like,
What was it?
they were in Minecraft like as a person, and you could actually like interact with the world like via their augmented reality like platform.
Oh,
So
cool. That's
yeah,
awesome.
it was pretty like it was a little clunky. It was at one of their like summits or whatever they do, but yeah, I've seen some cool stuff with augmented reality. But I'm old school, man. Like I still fire up PS2 and play Grand Theft Auto 3. And
Amazing.
I I
Okay.
remember the Christmas that came out, and I probably didn't sleep for like 7 days.
Oh yeah. I mean that's like one of those things. They just created a world, and you could just have almost free reign and do whatever you wanted in that world.
Yeah.
It was really cool. I wonder if there's any connection between, like we want to live in these sort of like permissionless systems that let like everybody communicate with just freely, and then also the overlap with gaming and people just wanting to like build and create and interact in these like almost like worlds that have less rules than the one we live in. I wonder if this is sort of like a natural human evolution of like that's our outlet.
Yeah, it's pretty strange. I immediately think of I don't know if you've seen that movie Minority Report. Have you ever
Yeah,
seen that?
so good.
Yeah, and he walks
Yeah,
through that like
classic.
that gaming like hallway, and all those people are like living in a different world. Like I feel like that's in like
Hmm.
50 years, like people just aren't going to leave their homes. There's going to
Yeah,
be
we're
living in
probably
their own
we're probably
reality.
not too far from that. And I hope that things come out that are that will encourage, like that's why I like augmented reality is it encourages us to be a part of the real world while also enhancing that world and helping us with education and giving us this ability to dream bigger by taking us to space if we want to go travel to space, teaching us about inside of the body, inside the oceans, taking us to places that we couldn't go or couldn't afford to go. Like there's all these incredible things that I think games will eventually look like education, and how that will evolve. Like we're going to be learning and not even realizing it.
Right. I'm waiting on Google to launch their Google Moon platform where they send a bunch of rovers to the moon and just map it out with their Google Earth technology. And then you can just log in and
Hmm.
like tour the moon on your computer. That would be amazing.
That would be incredible. Oh yeah, I love that. Sign me up. I'm there.
That's copywritten right now.
Yeah, tour the
um,
moon.
yeah. And all this technology, it always kind of circles back to having a digital currency that's native within these technologies. And I think
Exactly.
Bitcoin comes back to it where you're like, hey, people aren't leaving their homes. I mean, fintech and digital currency is the natural progression. So, I mean, it's happening. It's just, when moon, we're waiting.
It'll take time. I think great things take time, and this is the biggest thing I think that the world has seen since the internet.
Yeah.
This shift in the mechanics for how we communicate securely with each other through commerce.
Yeah. So, what's next on the horizon then? I mean, you mentioned your new partnership with Udemy. Am I saying that correct? Udemy?
Yeah, I think a few different people pronounce it different ways. They actually pronounce it Udemy.
Udemy. Okay.
And Udemy, yeah.
Cool. So
So
what's next
yeah.
beyond, what's Alex's 5-year plan?
Oh man. Okay. So the next thing that we're working on, if we're like zooming in a little bit, we just started to work on our mobile app, and that's going to let people just more freely earn Bitcoin when they want, with the partners that they want that are more connected to their phone. So
Cool.
partners that you would think about, adding would be like, or like working with or earning Bitcoin back with would be like Uber and Lyft, and these kind of partners that you use primarily. You wouldn't use that on web. And so it gives people more ways to stack sats, more places to earn. And it also makes Bitcoin a part of everyday life. And that gets really exciting to me personally, because right now, what we were talking about earlier was that stacking sats, as far as like Lolli goes, is like a weekly or bi-weekly event. But if we can make Bitcoin a part of everyday life aside from the price, that gets really like pervasive in society, because you're thinking about Bitcoin all the time and you're not thinking about price. So play that out 5 years and how the perception changes of you're just stacking sats of this like limited 21 million, this like scarcity of this like 21 million of this thing called Bitcoin, and everyone's trying to stack sats and earn this Bitcoin, and it becomes less about price and more about wanting more of this known quantity of Bitcoin. And I think that like changes the perception around it. So mobile is something that we're really excited about, giving people more ways to earn and more ways to get into Bitcoin. So one of the things that we want to do eventually is give people the ability to buy Bitcoin or do a subscription to Bitcoin, making it way easier and more intuitive to invest every day, every week into Bitcoin. Thinking of it like a Netflix account. How do you get somebody to invest in Bitcoin? You have to make it easy. Most people don't want to do $10,000 one time into Bitcoin. They want to ease into it and see if they've made the right decision. So imagine, you're using Lolli and you could do $5 a day, $1 a day, and we could just make it really easy to subscribe to Bitcoin. The other thing that I'm really excited about is lending. I think that if the consumer is using Bitcoin as the bank of the future, you have to think about how a bank makes money, and you have to let people opt in to other ways to make money from Bitcoin. And how we all know that banks make so much money off of our money is lending. So when they're lending out, how do you create this abstraction layer to let everybody lend out Bitcoin on to other people that would want to pay interest on that? And how do you do that securely? So can you create this like mechanic of lending out Bitcoin on the behalf of consumers and making it really easy for people to opt in, opt out of that? So imagine you're on Lolli and we launch this feature and you can check a box, and for your hundreds of dollars of Bitcoin that you stack sats and earn Bitcoin on, are you able to lend that out and earn 5% interest on that Bitcoin that you're sitting on?
Yeah.
And every month, every week, getting some of that and stacking more sats through that. So I'm really excited about that. And then in the future, after we've generated all of this revenue for all of these merchants and all of these consumers are really happy as they stack so many sats, and we have this whole little ecosystem around earning and owning Bitcoin, the next logical step, and this is going to be more around like the ecosystem as a whole, giving people the ability to pay with Bitcoin at the right time. So going to Walmart and saying, look, Walmart, we've sent you $100 million in sales, and we've been an incredible partner. We've driven sales. We've driven a loyal customer to you that has chosen you as a Bitcoin-friendly company. And so how do we work with you to let you accept Bitcoin for the masses, and with the incentive of decreasing the amount of fees that you're paying with credit card fees, with banking fees? And how do we make it easier for all of our, at the time, thousands of merchants to accept Bitcoin? And once one does it, it's going to be the exact same thing that we saw with what we're doing right now. Once one does it, then the next one does it, the next one does it. And the more that we can prove out that Bitcoin as payment rails are a net good thing for the world, and that's when we start to increase the transaction volume, by an order of magnitude greater, because we have all of these wallets, all of these people that have Bitcoin in their Lolli wallet and know us at the point of purchase. So it's this perfect moment to think about, okay, I should pay with Bitcoin. What if I could earn a percent back by paying with Bitcoin? How do you incentivize both parties to accept Bitcoin? And you have this margin to play with, which is like 1.5% to 2% that the credit card companies are getting right now for that. And if we can undercut that and both parties can be incentivized to accept Bitcoin over a fiat currency, that's net good for the world.
Yeah, and that's music to a merchant's ears, especially someone as big as Walmart,
Exactly.
who pays out the butt in taxes and fees, I'm sure, to move their money around. So, kudos to you, man. Exciting stuff.
Thank you so much. It's been a really fun ride so far, and we're just getting started. We're nearing our year anniversary since our launch, And I still feel like it's like day one, we're just getting started, and there's like so many exciting things going on and so many things that we like can't wait to share with the community. So yeah, thank you for having me on. And I've loved the work you guys have done to educate everyone. I kind of like, I think of Lolli as being the commerce side of what's needed for education.
Mm-hmm.
And, we can teach people through stacking sats. We can teach people by getting real Bitcoin in people's wallets. But we really need like quality journalism, quality media to be continuing to share this message with the world. And you guys do an unbelievable job. I'm like so thankful for you guys and everything you all do. So thank you for having me on, and thank you for everything you guys do, completely aside from Lolli, just for the Bitcoin community. Thank you so much.
No, I really appreciate that. I mean, we have a great team of people, and that's exactly what we're striving for, is just the best journalism that you can find within the space, because there can be a lot of fluff out there. And a lot of it can be really negative too, which is not always good. So yeah, I really appreciate that. And, it was really great getting to meet you at Bitcoin 2019. We met very briefly, and I know you probably met a lot of people, but you stuck in my mind. You're a great dude. You're doing great work. And, thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me.
The Bitcoin Magazine podcast is a BTC Media produced podcast on the Let's Talk Bitcoin network. The stories in this episode come from articles written by Bitcoin Magazine rock stars Peter Chihuahua, Landon Manning, and Colin Harper. Theme music provided by Billy Sly from the Crypto Cantina. Visit bitcoinmagazine.com for more in-depth news, analysis, and resources about the most successful peer-to-peer currency. And make sure to follow us on Twitter at Bitcoin Magazine. Find and subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcast. And don't forget to rate and review us. Remember, it really helps the show grow. Thanks for tuning in, guys. We'll see you next time.